All right, traders, here it is, the third video in this year chart spreadsheet series. Today, we're going to take it a step further and we're going to get into an actual trading system using the spreadsheet system for trading study. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right, so up to this point, we've already talked about, the basics, and we talked about how to use spreadsheets and alert conditions for to create alerts and, normal alerts and advanced alerts. We talked about all of that. If this is the first video that you're watching within this series, I would highly recommend that you go back and watch the first video that I made about Sierra Chart Spreadsheet, about the basics, and then follow that up with the advanced video, and then come back and watch this video. Or if you have some experience with spreadsheet, you can just watch this one. Feel free to do it however you want to do it. It's up to you, but let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so I had to go ahead and adjust that. We are set up and we're ready to go. So let's just do a real quick little recap, and we're going to use the same information or the same alerts that we were using before to actually create a trading system out of all of that, okay? All right, so what I'm going to do in this video is I'm just going to focus on the spreadsheet study in order to create this trading system. And then in another video that I'm going to create later, I will go into how to create a trading system using alert conditions, all right? Using another study, right? So if I'm normally in this series, I would go over the alert condition, then I would go over spreadsheet. But because of, both sides of those are, kind of detailed, I feel like if I tried to cover both topics in one video, it would be too long. So if you are interested to know how to do it, so this video is going to talk about the spreadsheet function or the spreadsheet study. If you are interested in the alert condition way of doing it, go ahead and leave that in the comment below, or just type a 3 in the comment section below, and I will make that, the more comments I get, the higher the priority I will make with making that that other video talking about how to make a trading system out of an alert condition or using the alert condition. All right. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and do a quick little recap of what we are looking at here. So this is our syntax, or this is the language, the words and the the syntax that we'll use to create our alert conditions and what we'll do within spreadsheet, right? So again, this blue line right here, this is what I'm referring to as the K-band, which is just the average of the Keltner channel, okay? And we're gonna reference that as KA, right? And then we got the 200 simple moving average, which is this red line right here, okay? We're gonna reference that as 200. Then we got our TR, which is our time range, which is this green background right here. We can also use that if we want. And then we have some basic stuff. We got the open, which is represented as O. R in spreadsheet is B3. Close, C, E3, high, H, C3, L, low, L, D3. And if we want to go reference a bar that's not the current bar but the previous bar, of course, if we're going to type it out, we're going to use the negative and a number. And or we're going to look at a row lower than the current row. All right. So like I said, if any of that did not make sense to you, just go back and watch the basic video, and I went into detail about what all of that really means. I just wanted to kind of recap some of the stuff here. All right, so here is the formula that we put together for spreadsheet right in here, okay? And this is going to be our buy signal, and this is going to be our sell signal, okay? And I went into detail about all of this in the other videos again. All right, so let's go ahead and start building out this trading system. So what this is saying for this buy signal is if AA3, which AA3 is the KA, is above AE3, which is the 200, right? Also, B4, which is the open or the previous open, is greater than E4, which that for us, B4 being greater than E4, that's the previous candle, means that previous candle is a bearish candle. And also when E3, right, which is the current price or the last price, is higher than C4, which is the high of the previous bar, right? So when we have the KA above the 200, right, and then we have a bearish candle followed by the current candle taking out the high of that previous bearish candle, then we'll look into that's going to give us a buy signal. All right, so for this trading system, we're with this right here, we're going to actually buy off of this. This is going to be our entry. Okay, so the signal is actually going to be the entry. Okay, and I'm just keeping it very simple for this example so that we can go through, so that the focus is not so much on the strategy rather than the actual how to use this strategy to automate our trades within Sierra Chart. Okay, so let's go into our studies, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove this. Well, I'm gonna keep it hidden. I'm not going to remove it. I'm gonna keep all of this here, and I'm gonna keep the signals there so we can actually, I'm going to hide all of this. Okay, I'm going to hide all of that. All right, hit apply, so all of that gets applied. Okay, now, so the study that we're going to look for is this spreadsheet system for trading. That's the study that we're going to look at, and I'm going to add that to the end, and we're going to go into it. So I can go ahead and click the settings, or I can double click. I'm just going to go ahead and click settings. Now we want to look at this information for this study here. Before we get into the actual spreadsheet, we want to look at this information in here, and we need to make some adjustments so that we can actually trade. We can build a trading system off of this. All right, so here's some things that we want to be, that I want to just point out to make sure that we are aware of, because these settings can be, pretty important depending on what you're trying to do. The first one is reset condition on a new bar. For this one, me personally, I don't want it on. So every time we have a new bar, it's going to do just exactly what it says. Now, the reason I want this off is if I was triggered into a trade based off of what I said in the spreadsheet, and the bar closes, and then we get another bar that matches that same criteria, that matches the same condition, then it'll put me into another trade. So I don't want that to happen, right? I only want this system or the spreadsheet study to put me in one trade at a time, right? So if I get triggered into a trade and a condition meets again, it's not going to trigger me into another trade. It's going to wait for that trade to complete and be over with before it puts me into another trade. All right, so that's why I'm saying that I would want that off for this example. Okay, along the same lines, we're also going to have cancel all orders on entries and reversals, as well as reversals and entries by themselves. I want all of that set to no. Also, signal only once per bar. For this one, I'm going to set to yes, right? And kind of like I explained before, the reason why I want that, let's say we get triggered into a trade because the current price takes out the high of the previous bar, but then once we get triggered into that trade, the price pulls back below the high of the previous bar, and then it pops back up. If I don't have that set to yes, that only signal only once per bar, then every time it dips below and pops back, above the high of the previous candle, then it's going to keep triggering me into a trade, right? So we're going to make sure that we have that set to yes, that it only does that once per bar. All right, so everything else, and in terms of how we're getting signal and the orders, I'm going to leave all of those at default. We're not going to support reversals. And now here's an important one: send orders to trade service. All right, so since this is an example and we have not back tested it yet or anything like that, I don't want to send this to my actual broker. So I'm going to have that, make sure this is important. In the military, anytime there was something important in a training session, they hit the table. So this one is very important. We want to make sure that we have this turned to no, so that it doesn't actually get sent. All right, so let's say that I have this I still have the chart book up, but I'm trading live and I've turned off the sim mode. But and if this study is still in here and it's enabled and this is set to yes in the background without me knowing it, it could send a live order to my broker and have me in a trade that I don't want to be in, because I was just doing some testing right here. So we definitely want to make sure, this is an important one here. that we want to make sure that this is set to no unless we actually want to trade it with live money, with real money, right, in our actual live broker account, okay, our live trading account. All right, the next one we're going to look at is cancel all working orders on exit. So for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and set this to yes. All right, so once I exit the position, all my working orders will get canceled. That's just the way I like to do it. And for the rest of the stuff, I'm just going to leave it at the default settings. All right, we're not going to use chase orders or any of this. I'm not going to mess around with any of this other stuff down here. Okay, so also we got to make sure that we put our spreadsheet in here. All right, so I'm going to go to select, and I'm going to pick the one, the MV3 Classroom YouTube. That's the one that we were working on the last time that has this information in it. Go ahead and click open, and I'm going to go ahead and click apply. All right, so let's go ahead and click OK, and I'm gonna close out of this, which is, and go to the spreadsheet, and you see the spreadsheet is down here on the lower part of the screen, right? So like I said before, sometimes you click that and it's to show it to you minimized, so we got to open that up. All right, we can see right here where, you know, all of our stuff from before was saved into here, okay, and we have everything, all our formulas in here already. All right, and it back tested it back, you know, it shows us where the conditions were met from previous bars or previous candles. Everything is already in here, so I'm just going to go ahead and check the formula. We're going to go to edit formula. All right, I'm going to look in here. The formula is still in there, of course, and I want to make sure that this formula matches what I have over here in the notepad. Okay, so click back on that. All right, everything looks the same. Click OK. All right, in order to see if this works or not, also we got this for the sell side as well. Okay, now I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to put a formula in here for the buy exit or the sell exit. For this, what I'm going to do, go ahead and minimize the spreadsheet, and let's look for our trade window. Got it. Okay, I'm just going to use my attached orders here. So I have this already set up. We go to targets. You can see that I have a target of 300 ticks with a stop of 50 ticks. Okay, and I'm just going to let this be, you know, determine how I get out of the trade, you know, my break even. And at the same time, we can manually adjust that as well. So I'm going to let this manage the exit portion of the trade, right? Now, if I wanted to, I can go into the spreadsheet and set some different, you know, conditions in addition to this that would take me out of the trade. But just for this simple example, we're going to just use it as is, right? Okay, so I'll make sure I got the use attached order selected. And as you can see, it's already showing us where some trades would have been taken. So let's go ahead and test this out. And I'm going to scroll back. Okay, right about there, so that we can see if this works correctly. Now, in addition to the spreadsheet, I mentioned this in the first video, but we got to make sure that our automated trading is enabled, right? So we got auto trading enabled global. We want to make sure that's checked. Also, auto trading enabled chart. Want to make sure that's that's checked. So this does it for the platform as a whole, the global. That's why it says global. And this one is only for, you know, this chart, right? So if let's say I click off of this and I go to another chart. Now I'm at this chart and I click on this, and then I don't want it. We're gonna click off of that for global. But then I go back to the chart that we're using. Oops. We go to trade, and you see it's still checked for this chart, right? For auto trade enabled chart, it's still checked for that chart, but it is not checked for this chart. So that's what that does. But just, you know, for this purpose, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make sure both of those are checked, just for illustration purposes only, just to keep it nice and simple. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead, and I think I messed my thing up when I did that. All right, so we're gonna bring up replay mode. So one more time, just to make sure we're all on the same sheet of music. What we are looking for, I'm gonna put this at 5. It can take a while for us to trigger, but what we are looking for is either A, like as we can see over here, the KA is above the 200, and then if we have a bearish candle, we want the close or the last price to take out the high of that bearish candle. Okay, that's for a long trade. And for a short trade, we're actually looking for the opposite. What we want is the KA to be below the 200, and where if we have a bullish candle, we want the low to take out the low, or we want the last price to take out the low of that bullish candle, that previous bullish candle. So as we can see right here that I have highlighted, see if I can open that up a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. This one would not trade. If I was looking to get into this one, it would not trigger, simply because the low did not take out, or the price or the close did not take out the low of that previous bullish candle, right? It didn't do that until 2 candles after the fact. So it took out the low of this bullish candle, but too far ahead. So I would have to, if I wanted to also this to be triggered, this condition to be triggered as well, I would have to add in another statement. I would have to have an or statement that has an additional and statement that would have, instead of B4 is less than E4, it would say B5 is less than E5, and then E3 is less than D5. All right, so I hope that makes sense. And we can look at the spreadsheet. So the reason why I'm saying 5 is because row 5 would be 2 candles back. As we can see right here, if we scroll over to the left and we see our prices, the open, the high, the low, and the last are the close. 5 is 2 candles back, 6 is 3 candles back, 7 is 4 candles back, and so forth and so on, right? All right, so I think I made that point clearly. I hope I made it clearly. It can be kind of, difficult if you're trying to explain it, verbally sometimes. It can be confusing if you're not familiar with it, okay? Let's go ahead and see if this thing works like we want it to work, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and reset the chart. And let me scroll back over. All right, so let's go ahead and see if this works. Now, I didn't test this beforehand, so we're both going to be surprised at the same time. I wanted to go ahead and get this video out. I've worked with this before, so I know how it works. So I didn't test it beforehand, but let us both be surprised at the same time. Go ahead and play, and let's see if it works out. Yeah, I don't want to clear it. All right, let's just let it play. Okay, let's see if this works. So we're watching this. So now here's our bullish candle. Our bullish candle is being formed. We got 1 minute and 20 seconds left in this candle. Not literally, of course, it's sped up with a speed of 5. I didn't want to make the speed too quickly, because when you're doing this from replay mode, if the speed is too fast, there will be slippage, and it will be like, there's a good chance there will be highly unrealistic slippage. All right, so we got our bullish candle. So now we want the last price to take out the low of that last candle right there, that last bar. Make sure we got our, there we go. So now we're in the trade, and if I want to, I can adjust this trade, manually if I want to. I'm gonna go ahead and adjust it, or I can put it back to where it was. All right, and if we see we got our target down here. Let me move this out the way, slide it out the way. So we see we got our target and everything, and it's working as we plan it to work. Okay, so now we can see that works. And there we go. Now we're taking out of the trade. You can see, that was a successful trade right there. We got $55 because we're trading in Q, and with 11 ticks, and that is Awesome. That's wonderful. So now we have confirmed that it works correctly, and it's doing what it's designed to do. Okay. So another way that you can test this is you can test this doing the same thing, but in this replay mode, which you can go back even further and you can have accurate trading system back test mode, or you can do calculate same as real time. It's different ways that you can do this. But another way that you can do it, I'm just gonna go ahead and stop that. All right, so another way that you can back test with this is you can go up here to trade, and then you have some options over here for auto trade system bar base back test, or auto trade system bar back test with scan, auto trade replay back test. I've used all of these, and they are prone to making mistakes. So let's just go to this first one. Okay, so it's telling me that I need to disconnect from the data feed in order to do that. Okay, so let me go ahead and disconnect from the data feed, and let's try that again. All right, so we're gonna hit auto trade system bar. We're gonna click this first one here, this first auto trade system, and I'm gonna go ahead and just click yes on this one to clear the replay back test trade data. And I'm just gonna leave this at default for example purposes only, and click OK. Now you'll see it start going through all the trades and back testing your strategy to see how good your strategy actually works. Now as you can see, as it's scrolling through, it's placing a lot of trades in there. It's looking at a lot of different situations. So this is not extreme, it's not very realistic. It doesn't even, it really doesn't even follow. If I'm looking at this at a glance, it's not following exactly how I set the thing up. So this is what I mean by the back testing within Sierra Chart cannot be perfect. So don't, just take it with a grain of salt. Don't put too much weight in on, the results that it gives you. For me personally, what I like to use it for is to, let it run through it. Then I get the data, and then I can analyze the data, in a quicker way than if I'm trying to go back and manually back test and back trade everything. All right. So I'm going to pause right here, and I'm just going to let this finish. And then, we'll come back when it's finished. All right, so that took a couple minutes, and that completed, and oddly, it still has me in a trade right here. So we're gonna go ahead and flatten that. So it's interesting to see that such a simple strategy can be profitable according to this back test. So let's look at this back test. Now, so the reason that I did that was just to make sure that the spreadsheet trading system worked as designed. And as we can see, we got buys in, where the condition is met. We also have sales where the condition is met. All right, so we can see that it works. Now, so here's one of them. They have an order in here. So this shows where you have to take, these results with a grain of salt. If we're looking at this trade right there, so when this is live, my order I would have actually been put into the trade right there. That's where I would have got in the trade, but because it's back testing, it put me on the actual close, which is down there. So that's a good 20 points that it missed out on right there because it's back testing. So this is what I mean by you have to take your back test with a grain of salt. This is not the real number of how this strategy would have worked out. Who knows? It may have worked out. It may not have worked out. The point of all of this is just to make sure that your spreadsheet works, as it should, right? That's the whole point, that it's triggering you where it's supposed to trigger you in. It's taking you out of the trade where it's supposed to take you out, and all of that good stuff, right? So in terms of the spreadsheet, you can see that it's really simple. It's a very simple thing to use. If you're trying to build it out, if you're trying to make your own trading system, your automated trading system, or you're testing it, if you're trying to build your own trading system, the key things that you need in order to build out your automated trading system with Sierra Chart Spreadsheet is you need to be able to articulate your strategy in writing in as much detail as you possibly can. All right, so you need to be able to write your strategy down. You also need to understand the basic syntax of Sierra Chart, whether that's you're using a spreadsheet or you're using an alert condition, okay? And you also need to know where to locate the study and which study to use. All right. So with this one, we go into studies. So for a trading system, of course you want to use the spreadsheet system for trading. All right, if you want to make an alert, you're going to use a spreadsheet system alert. Or if you want to make a study, you're going to use a spreadsheet or the spreadsheet study. Now we haven't talked about the study, but it's really the same thing. I'll open it up real quick just so we can look at it. Not that. It's not what we want. Okay, study. And you can see there's less options, but it's really the same thing. So you're going to do a spreadsheet. So let's say study example, right? Okay, and I hit OK, and go ahead and hit OK on that. Now we can see our study example spreadsheet down here, and you see it's the exact same spreadsheet without the buy and the exit and all of that stuff. Okay, so that's the only thing that it leaves out. You just have your extra ones up here that you can use to create your study. That's it. But it's the same syntax. It's the same. You're referencing the same. All your open and your information is in the same location. Your study information is still in the double letters. When you scroll to the right of the spreadsheet, all of that stuff is the same. That's the only difference. The only difference between a spreadsheet for a study is that you don't have, of course, your buys and your exit, or your buys and your sell columns in here. That's the only difference. All right. So those are the three things that you will need in order to create whatever you're trying to do using spreadsheet. Okay. And it's that simple. Okay. It really is. It's extremely simple. The hardest part is this one. Actually, the hardest part is the first one, because you got to be able to clearly articulate the way that I look at it is you should be able to explain your trading strategy to a child, right? If you can explain your strategy to a child, then you can write it out, you can put it in writing, and when you're putting your strategy together, you should write it down, right? And then once you can put it in writing, then the next part, which is not that difficult at all, is understanding the language of Sierra chart and what it uses for the spreadsheets or the alert condition. And then the last part is of course, it's the easiest part, because just picking the right study. All right, I could go deeper and make a more complicated strategy, and we can go through that. But before I do all of that, I just want to make sure that's something you want to see. So if you do want to see me make a put together and do this with a complicated strategy, go ahead and leave that in the comment section below. Also, if there's a strategy that you have in mind that you would like to see if we can make it through a spreadsheet, put that in the comment section below either, or you can email me. So if you have a particular strategy in mind that you would like to test out with spreadsheet, just you can let me know in the comment section below, or you can send me an email, and then I'll make a video on it. All right, and then if it works for you, then you can go ahead and use it, and I'll send it to you if you want me to, or however we can however we want to work it, we can work it that way if it's not too complicated. All right, that pretty much does it for this video, and I will see you guys on the next one. Trade it easy.